Hello, everybody. I am here to talk about parent and student orientation. I'm going to go through the document, and you're welcome to read it over. But if you don't want to read it over and you just want to listen to me, you're welcome to do that too. I just want to make sure you get all this information before school starts or possibly even after school starts. So I'm going to go through the document for our 2024-25 school year at Empower Academy. I'm Shane Wickwire. I'm the executive director and the principal. And I will go through staff to start. And then I'm going to go through rules, expectations, and all the good things that you should know before school begins next week. Our operations manager is Erin Bowman. I think most of you know her. Our personnel, SPED, ELL coordinator, and many other things is Gina Wickwire. Our kindergarten team is made up of Mrs. Baxley, Mrs. Schroeder, and Ms. Schultes. First grade is Becky Stowe. Our second grade teacher is Jennifer Ricks. Our second grade teacher is Kevin Woodison. And then we have third grade, Kayla Bagley. Fourth grade is Brenda Mango. And fifth grade is Lynn Jost. Our brand new music teacher is Rachel Sill. Our receptionist is Jessica Klingen. And our aces are Pamela Dickens, Anita Duggar, and Nicole Tidwell. And we have two new aces coming on board today. Our enrollment right now is pretty high. We have around 200 students registered in Skyward. We have about 220, 225 students enrolled, but not in Skyward because we're missing some paperwork. So we want to make sure families get enrolled, get all your paperwork in, because once we fill up those seats, they are filled and then there's a wait list. Some folks have asked why a charter school or why Springs Empower Academy specifically. So I just wanted to go over some elements of our charter that are different from local school districts or even other charter schools. First of all, we are student-centered. That means we don't let curriculum dictate the focus of the classroom instruction, but instead educators focus on the student specifically and their needs. And we personalize. Personalization comes in a lot of different forms. At Springs, we teach students how to embrace and understand their own learning, essentially. With that, each student has a personalized learning path. They set SMART goals, they track their progress on their ICANs, and the ICANs are the state standards, and they begin to understand their learning strengths and those areas that they need to work on. We also offer a lot of choices. I mean, you've already made a choice by choosing a charter school, but we also believe choice is part of the learning process. So students will learn to select different ways for them to practice, different ways for them to take assessments, because not everybody learns the same. Not everybody just wants to sit, listen to a lecture and take a test on Friday. There are many different ways to learn, and that's part of choices and personalization. We're also big on community. We believe that community should be part of the classroom, and that means we utilize community as part of the learning. That means we go outside to the community. Sometimes they learn outdoors. We go on a lot of field trips. We bring cultural things into the classroom. We'll have after-school activities, sometimes weekend activities, involving families and different things that you would see outside of the norm at a lot of the public schools. So we do a lot of that. There's still a lot of security involved in our school. So that doesn't mean anybody can just waltz into the school and be, oh, I want to be part of my child's life and sit in the classroom and join in. We still have security, but it does mean we do a lot of community events. Art and science are a big part of our charter school here. And all of our students this year are going to be learning music, which is very exciting. They'll not only learn how to read and appreciate music, but also how to play music on the keyboard. And research has shown, if you didn't know this, that learning music, especially at a young age, really builds the brain and builds those synapses which are part of memory and really shows improvement in mathematics at the same time. Another thing we do at our charter is building connection. We want our staff to connect with the students from day one. And that's part of the fabric of our school, where we know students well enough to recognize if they're having a rough day and check in on them, and sometimes just listen to what they're going through. And if the child's really having an off day, instead of just dealing it as a behavior problem, sometimes it just takes a conversation to bring down those levels of anxiety. Like many schools in Tennessee, we offer athletics, but we started at a younger level in the elementary. So we want students learning to be young athletes or learning new sports at the lower grades, and then keep that going on up into middle school and beyond. We also make physical fitness a big priority. And finally, you'll hear us talk a lot about the Da Vinci principles and even Socrates as part of our learning process. We want our students to be critical thinkers. We want them to ask why. We want them to have the courage to make mistakes, trying new things, showing their curiosity, ingenuity, being inventive. That's all part of the intellectual exploration we invite here. And we want them to look into the why of things, the Socratic method. We don't just want them to ask us why and give them the answers. We want them to search out the answers and tell us why. Also at Empower Academy, we talk about social emotional development. And watching out for our students' emotional welfare is a top priority. Our team meets monthly to discuss important topics. We'll have discussions with our students. We want to make sure that they have a voice in a safe environment. We also incorporate Ruler into the classroom, and Rulers for recognition of their emotions, understanding what they're going through, labeling what those are, allowing students to express themselves, and most importantly, regulating those emotions. And this is an ongoing process. It's daily, it's weekly, it's monthly. We also bring in families to do trainings on Ruler, and that's a great way to empower yourselves to be part of the process with your children. And you'd be surprised at what a difference it can make. Many have asked us about the TCAP and what we do to address that, and about student retention. Although this will be our first year doing state level testing in Tennessee, it's not our first time doing state testing. We've been doing it for a long time at Spring Schools. We do focus on the state standards, which are our ICANNs, and we use state approved curriculum. We also incorporate RTI to support struggling students and develop strategies to help them improve and make that growth that we want to see. When we see struggling students, we will develop plans and student study teams. And if we are even considering retention, we start that conversation early on and make the family a big part of that. But we're going to do everything we can to prevent a student of being retained, because ultimately we don't believe that's what's best for them. School security is a high priority. We have a ton of training here on staff to make sure our students are kept safe. We have implemented all brand new cameras around the site, new security doors. We have new fire detection, and we're going to have an armed security guard here. So lots of different improvements in school security. And we will also be training our students monthly in emergency awareness and on evacuation procedures and whatnot. We also have the Raptor system, so when any adult coming onto site will have to show their license, and it goes to the system just to make sure all our kiddos are kept safe. And I've had some families ask about, oh, can we come and have lunch whenever we want to just come sit with our kiddos? And my answer is, well, no, because part of security is just having our staff working with our kiddos. If you are a volunteer, you go through fingerprinting and the DOJ process to make sure that you're completely cleared and to work with children. So coming in and sitting with a group of children would not be the safe and secure method that we would want. I would want you to think about it outside of yourself. And would you just want anybody, any mom, dad, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, grandparent, or whomever to want to come in and just sit with the students at lunch and, not be fully vetted in that way? A lot of bad things could potentially happen, and that's why we have those security measures in place. It's not to inconvenience you as a parent or keep you away from your child. It's to protect the children while they're at school. Our uniforms are forest green and white. We've also added black and gray to that. And we have lots of shirts available. The polo shirts, we have them for sale. And you can find them at Kohl's and Walmart and Target, just that forest green and white. Very affordable. And our pants we have khaki, even blue jeans in good repair are part of that, and pleated skirts for the girls. And if you have any questions about that, come on in and you can check out our offerings and what would be permitted. Our school schedule is 7:15 to 2:15, which is 15 minutes before the surrounding schools. 7:15 is early, much earlier than I would have designed, but we are trying to mitigate the traffic from the other surrounding schools. We have 4 other schools around us, so we want to make sure you can get in and get out as quickly as possible. And our pickup and drop off procedure should be pretty seamless. We're not a huge school and it's not our first rodeo, so we've got a process in place, and our pickup shouldn't take any longer than 10 or 15 minutes, generally speaking. Maybe the first week of school, 15 to 20 minutes, but it won't take long. And our drop-off will be very easy in the mornings. We do want to make sure you're coming in on Culbertson Street southbound so that you can make a right turn into our parking lot, go through, pick up or drop off, and then exit by making a right back on the Culbertson. If you're coming in northbound and you have to make a left, you could run into a lot of traffic, creating more congestion. So the sooner we can get everybody trained to come in from from east to west, making a left on Culbertson, which makes it a right turn into our parking lot, will be the best method for the flow of traffic. So we'll be working on that a lot in the first month. As I mentioned, we hired a music teacher, and we'll be doing music twice a week for all of the grade levels, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. And kiddos will get to learn to read music, playing keyboards. We're also going to have a musical theater program here, and that's very exciting. I always ask our families to remember to be kind to our staff. They work hard. They have our students' best interests at heart. And I know it can be stressful out there, and sometimes you hear, oh, somebody's being mean to me at school, or it could be somebody cut you off in the parking lot and you want to tell them off. If we can all just always remember to be kind when we're dealing with children at school. Sometimes we just need to have a conversation to work things out, to be heard. If there's an issue that you're hearing about from your child on the playground or in the classroom, write or call the teacher first, find out what's going on, ask them to look into it. If you come to me, Mr. Wickwire, with an issue, the first thing I'm going to ask, have you had a conversation with the teacher yet? And I'm going to direct you back to them because that's where it needs to start. If issues are still unresolved, then I can step in and we'll work on getting that resolved. Our universal rules are very simple. We ask our students to be responsible, safe, make a commitment to excellence, and to always show respect to themselves and to one another. And ways that we do that with our positive behavior expectations are speaking and acting respectfully to one another. We do have a zero tolerance for bullying, and we ask for parent support on that. And that doesn't mean every instance of reported bullying is bullying. Sometimes it's just kids doing or saying mean things, and we work with them on that to not behave that way. But mean behavior that's pervasive, or it's from several students on one, that's more what bullying is, and we treat that very seriously. We also ask our students not to run inside the classroom or yelling in the building, to use the school facilities and equipment appropriately, follow school dress code, and removing our hats from inside the building. Arriving late and leaving early is important. Attendance is important. And simply, the more your child is at school, the better the learning is going to be, the more consistent. And sometimes if they're frequently being dropped off late or picked up early, just it impacts their schooling. And it also can be disruptive to class if students are showing up late or getting pulled out early. We've had students ask us about our homework policy. We refer to our homework as practice. We don't mandate homework or practice at home, but that doesn't mean we don't do it or assign it. We will have projects that go home, sometimes reports. Sometimes we encourage practicing math or always reading. Reading should be done every day. And sometimes we'll even send home some things that can be practiced at home, like iReady or even ST Math, which are both computer curriculum that can be utilized at home that really have beneficial impacts for students if they're doing a little extra at home. Our I CAN statements, as I mentioned before, are a staple of the Springs Empower program. And they're not necessarily a new concept. I think even Rutherford County uses the term I CAN, but they're simply the grade level standards put into more student worded phrases so that they can readily understand and work on those and work on mastery. If your child needs medication, whether it's prescription or non-prescription, we need to have it official forms filled out so that we can administer them on site. And even if a child requires ice or a Band-Aid, we need a form filled out that says we are allowed to administer that. Otherwise, if a child gets a cut, we'll have to call the parent down to treat that, or sometimes even call 911, and we certainly wouldn't want to do that for a paper cut. So please look for those forms and fill those out. And if your child does require any medication, even if it's like ibuprofen, we need a form filled out that says that that can be administered. We have a breakfast and lunch program here. It is free and reduced. In order to qualify for that free and reduced, you need to complete the form. That's part of the application process in Skyward. We encourage everybody to fill out those forms because even if you think I'm not going to qualify, you just might. And if the school, and this goes for any public school, reaches a certain plateau in the percentage of families that do meet the criteria for that, it actually results in increased funding for the school. And that's always a good thing for students when we have more money to spend on different programs. So we encourage everybody to fill that out. I have lots of questions about parent volunteers. We do have parent volunteers. There is a volunteer application that will be on our Springs website. If it's not there already, it will be soon. Every volunteer has to go through fingerprinting and DOJ, as I mentioned before, which is the Department of Justice process. And then we will have a meeting on the expectations of that. So again, we take these things very seriously. If you're going to be working with students in the classroom, we want to make sure that, one, the student, or rather the teacher, wants volunteers. And then the teacher's part of that too, on how long that would be and who's going to be in there. And then we talk to you about that. There's a training process to make sure that you understand the expectations there. Because we want to make sure, number one, our students are always kept safe and secure. The parent and student handbook is available. You should have received that in your email. If not, let us know. Please read through that. It is much more detailed than this summary, which I'm going through. And on the last page, there is an acknowledgement page that you and your child would sign, and it's important that we get all of those signed. That's the end of my summary. We look forward to a wonderful year at the Empower Academy. Thank you for coming on board. If there's ever any questions or concerns, please bring them to us. And there are still seats available at many of the grades. So we encourage you to continue to spread the word for us, because as we grow here, we grow into our new building and new school site. And growth is a good thing because it helps us become bigger, better, and help more children in this Smyrna, Rutherford County area to have that choice of something we believe is better for children. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to working with you in the very near future. Take care.